Hey, welcome to BSB TV. I'm Kevin Gammy, obviously, and today I've got Michael Hall from Sprint Digital. How are you going, Michael?
Good, thanks, Kevin. Thanks for having us.
That's good. Look, my pleasure. Now, Sprint Digital do some really cool stuff with helping people streamline their systems and get automated to improve their business processes, yeah?
Yeah, that's it. So we do everything from custom software, websites, custom mobile apps, anything that helps businesses to become more efficient at what they do and in the end affect their bottom line.
But what we're going to talk about is the future of business automation and integration. And and the really exciting thing I had was when we were talking, you said, hey, but it's not about throwing out all the systems and building apps and doing all that sort of stuff at first. Most of the time, it's stuff that people would consider a little bit boring, but also really cost effective, hey?
Yeah, that's it. So it's really important from the beginning that you know where you want to get to. So having a system in place, it might be all manual. You could be using Google Sheets and maybe a CRM that's off the shelf, but knowing what you're doing now and understanding where you want to get to, you need to have that mapped before you can even think about trying to automate and make it more efficient.
Absolutely. Now, you got a little 5-step process that I discovered when we were talking earlier. And that first one was absolutely being clear about that outcome, hey?
Yeah, that's it. It's really important. You can't walk into this without having a documented process and like knowing where you want to get to. Otherwise, you'll just flounder and you'll probably waste money trying to automate something that isn't important. It's really important to know where you want to get to. Know that I've got 10 steps in my business that we do all the time. Where do we want to get to? Are we eliminating 5 of those steps? We're automating them. How are we going to automate them? And that's often a mix. You don't need to always go and build a big custom platform. You can often pick a couple of different pieces of software, integrate them, and automate them to make it more efficient for your business.
Absolutely. So having this is how I want my customers to feel really isn't a great first step, is it? So one, knowing the outcome that you want, number one. What's step number 2?
That's documenting what you do. So know where you want to get to, document the process that you currently use. That's documenting all the systems and tools and the steps that you take to deliver whatever it is for your customer's service or a product. Document that well, and basically from that you'll understand where a lot of your time goes. You'll understand, look at that, sales is spending 5 hours every day on this manual process that they probably don't need to be doing. So it's really important that you have that documented.
It's really funny because in many ways, entrepreneurs are so lazy that they'll work, for 70, 80 hours a week for themselves for a fraction of the money they could work for someone else. But it comes through in this as well, because sitting down and documenting stuff is can be boring, but it also takes a lot of mental capacity to sit down and go, so what do I do?
Yeah, exactly. And we've all done that in our own business. There's all these things that I know I do and I don't write them down. To me, I just know. I hire someone else and bring them in. They're like, what do you even do? I'm like, wow, I haven't even thought about that. It's a really important process to sit and write it down. And you kind of get a sanity check when you do that as well. So everyone should be doing it all the time.
I laugh because I'm guilty. Step 3.
Once you've documented what you're doing and your current process, you need to explore what's the best outcome, what's the best case scenario, what is the Taj Mahal of solutions here, looking at where you could get, if it's now, if it's in a year, 2 years, 5 years, understanding what that best practice solution is. Once you've decided that, look, that's where we really want to be and that's maximum efficiency, then you can work backwards and start breaking it down to understand the steps to get there.
And that's a really important thing. When you can start breaking it down, as we were discussing earlier, you said, hey, quite often tools that people are already using, they're probably underutilizing on a regular occasion. They're using a fraction of what they could.
Yeah, all the time. And you don't need to throw it all away. Your best outcome solution, I mean, a lot of our customers' best outcomes generally involve something like Xero and MYOB, because the best outcome isn't to build your own accounting platform. That's ridiculous. You don't need to do that. It can be a mix of different platforms, making them talk together. Maybe it's a custom customer portal. That's the one thing you do. We made a custom portal for our customers to get the best experience, but overall, we're still using 7 or 8 different products, however many it is, to basically deliver that.
Cool. Now we did promise. So it really is about starting now and growing as you can afford those different future outlets.
That's it. We really need, we can always come in and quote the biggest, grandest solution. That doesn't help anyone. Everyone's got a budget to work with, and it needs to be realistic for their business. If someone comes to us and says, we're doing this thing, we're spending 20 hours doing it, we can look and go, well, I mean, that's a cost to you. You can look at that cost. What would it take to remove that cost of manual task? Or we had a case just recently where a customer's spending $2,500 on SMS messages every month, and it was a rethink about, well, do they need to be sending those SMSs out, or can they bring people into their system to get the alerts? There's always a different way to think about things. So it's about making sure that it's realistic for the business, because you go to a builder to build a house and you'll say, I want a house. So, I want to build a house. They'll say the first thing, what's your budget? Do you want plastic handles or gold handles? Because it's all very, very important, those questions. So then that helps us build the solution. What are we working with here?
Gold's not my color really, but let's not worry about that. So you've actually got a networking function that you guys are hosting on Thursday night that's coming up. And I imagine you're going to host this sort of thing regularly in the future. We're going to talk about the future of automation and that sort of stuff. You're even going to talk about chatbots, because that's another way that you could have solved that SMS problem, I would have imagined.
Yeah, exactly. So when we work with businesses, we often encountered a lot of different parts of their businesses, and a lot of that comes down to the marketing side of it. So it's a real natural integration to talk about and partner up with chatbot guys to basically look at how you can use chatbots to automate your marketing process, to bring in more qualified leads without actually having to really do any more work from your end. So it's a really good fit, because you automate that part of it. Then they're in a CRM of sorts. If a lead comes through, then there's a whole automation process beyond that. So it's really exciting that we can get together and basically talk a bit about chatbots, talk about automating software, making businesses more efficient, and what the future holds.
Yep. Now, look, I'm not going to let Jack escape, because we did talk about before we got on here that I think it's funny that we've got a community of 11,500 people, but hardly any of them leave a footprint. And we've actually got a real live lurker in the background there. Come on, Jack, just show your face just briefly for us.
He's sitting behind the laptop. He's coming around.
G'day. I'm in the wrong part. How you doing?
So Jack's been lurking while we've been doing this, making sure Michael says all the right stuff. You happy with what Michael said?
Yeah, probably 7.5 so far.
Thanks very much. Look, great to chat with you both. Thursday night, you guys, I'll get you, Michael, to put a comment in the Facebook community with a link to where your event is happening. The Eventbrite link. Yeah. I'm really sorry I can't make it. I've already got another thing on, but I actually went and bought a ticket, which was free, and then realised that I double booked.
That's all good. Yeah, it should be a good event. It's at the Carrington Hotel in Fortitude Valley. It's free to come along. We're providing a few drinks and nibblies. It should be pretty pain-free. They're not going to be really long talks. It's about getting together, having a bit of a conversation, and then networking.
Hey, I'll be just over at Hurston there at Vic Park, so I might even drop in straight afterwards. Look, thanks very much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
No worries. Thanks for having us, Kevin.